Welcome into A to Z Sports Primetime on this muggy Wednesday evening here in Middle Tennessee. We're very happy to have you in for another episode of the Primetime Show. We're talking about championship foundations. How close are the Titans to being championship caliber? How close are the Titans to being even contender caliber as we approach the NFL draft? We are a mere 8 days away from this bad boy going down, or at least starting the first round in Detroit, and we're very excited about it. If you were listening to the radio show today, you know we have some exciting draft stuff for you as well. And in fact, Bert, if you would do me the courtesy of pulling that clip from the Zone that they just tweeted out of me and Greg Cosell, I would like to play that for people at some point in case they missed the announcement on the radio show earlier today. Apologies for not thinking of that sooner, but still, this is an exciting time. I've said this on the radio show. I'm sure I've said it at some point on Primetime, but this is as enjoyable as an offseason has been to me, as exciting as an offseason has been to me in quite some time, because of the level of importance and because of the implications that it will have on Rand Carthon, on Brian Callahan, on Will Levis, on DeAndre Hopkins, on Tajay Spears, Jeff Simmons, and everybody in between. This is a massive NFL draft for this particular football franchise, and I am looking forward to seeing if they can, frankly, pull it off. There's a lot of work still to be done, and while they have had a good offseason to date, it can be very easily undermined or if they do not supplement it correctly with the kind of organic talent that this roster just desperately needs to have replenished. So we're going to take a look at a formula that NFL Network's Daniel Jeremiah had put out on social media earlier. The NFL Network's team had determined a way to kind of shorthand championship caliber rosters and stack blue chip talent, green chip talent. We'll call them yellow chip, for lack of a better term, players that you have general concerns about or whose contracts or whose injuries are generally concerning. And then pink, which is the classification for an unproven or rookie player that you're just not sure about how much they can contribute. The morning show at 104.5 The Zone, Ramon, Kayla, and Will worked through this exercise today, and I thought that it was productive. It's the exactly one thing that Robert Walsh has contributed to this particular program in more than a year of employment, which is shocking to me. Well done by Bert. Let's all give him a golf clap. But I think that when you look at the level of roster talent that the Titans have, it may give you some confidence about where this team is headed. It also may ground you a little bit about where this team still has to improve, because I do think that they've done a lot of great stuff this offseason, but that I know specifically that the work cannot start or cannot stop just yet. Reynald says, "Don't be negative, Buck." I'm not being. I'm just looking to be thorough, I guess, with my evaluation. And you guys know that's been a consistent theme for me. I'm always going to try and give you the most honest evaluation of what it is that I'm seeing. And if it's something that I'm not smart enough to see, I rely on resources like Greg Cosell, like contacts around the NFL to help me just basically translate what it is that's happening on any given Sunday or through the draft process or in the pre-draft evaluation, whatever the case may be, so that I can have better context to deliver to you guys. That's all I'm looking for at this point. So hopefully you don't take that as outright negative, though there are some negative things about the Titans roster right now. And I don't think that is, I don't think there's any sense in hiding from that, I guess is the way that I would phrase it. So we'll look forward to these things together. Eric Alonso says that the YouTube notifications are trash. I noticed that a lot of you guys were having some issues getting the notifications sent to you, and that was reflected last night. So if you are struggling if you're not getting the YouTube notifications, let us know. I'll bring it up with technical support as quickly as humanly possible, because it seems like a couple of you have expressed that, and it's basically just kind of Russian roulette whether you end up getting that notification or not. So we'll see if we can't improve that situation for you. I'll get in touch with the necessary parties afterwards. And I appreciate you guys letting us know. Anytime you guys have issues with that, let us know. Major Key says, bro, I just got here and pressed notify. Now I missed what you talked about. Yeah, I don't know why the notification situation on YouTube has been less than reliable, but we will see if we can't get that situation rectified for you guys. We appreciate when you show up because I'm going to be here for you, but I would like to make it easier for you guys to get the notification that we're on and live streaming. So we'll talk about the championship caliber formula. We'll see where the Titans rate. We will talk about over-under win totals for the AFC South and where the Titans fall in that. Speaking of falling, we've got rising and falling at the end of the show, and we will make sure to get a good video for you guys that way, or a good topic for you guys that way. Stokely says, Buck, you crazy son of a bitch with that special guest tease last night. Can't believe I didn't guess correctly. That's right. If you were not aware, before we start the primetime program, we did make the announcement. Well, I mean, I guess I could just play for you the announcement that we made earlier on the radio show today before we officially get the primetime program underway, because of course it's going to be draft specific. That we need it. Not that you're not enough for me, bud. You and I invented this relationship for a long time. You know that. But I think we need to. Up the ante for year two. How do you feel about making an announcement with me here right now?
Sure. Go ahead. I'm waiting to hear what it is. I'm waiting to hear what the announcement might be.
So playing coy as Greg Cosell typically does. No, Rand Carthon, Titans general manager, is going to join Greg Cosell and myself on the stage to help us break down the draft class that 6 days prior he will have selected with him and his staff. Lucas, give me some crappy fanfare.
Let's ride.
Russell Wilson even excited about it. Greg, I know you've had some time to talk to Rand.
I am so excited, by the way, to see, as I'm sure fans are, who they draft at 7, assuming they stay there. I just think there's so many options. I know it's easy to say they need an offensive lineman, and of course they do somewhere along the line. But, drafts play out in interesting ways, Buck, and you always have to stay true to your board, whatever that may look like. You and I will not see what the Titans board looks like, but obviously I have my thoughts about particular players, which I'm sure I'll be expressing on in 2 weeks, and we'll go from there.
My microphone's muted. Sorry. The special announcement for the live show coming up on May the 3rd is that Rand Carthon is going to be on stage with Greg Cosell and myself for breaking down the draft class that he's going to put together 6 days after the fact. It's going to be electric. Bert is going to drop. I told you guys, if you haven't bought your tickets yet, to make sure you buy your tickets, because I honestly can't guarantee that there are going to be any tickets left this evening, but I will have Bert drop it in the chat. B-Bird says, I just yelled at my husband because he knew that and hadn't told me yet. Yes. So Chef Rand Carthon will be a participant, is the word that I'm looking for, in the live show with Greg Cosell and myself on Friday, May the 3rd at the Hutton Hotel in the Analog Room, with hundreds of you in attendance. So if you can't get the tickets, or if you haven't gotten the tickets yet, Bert just dropped the link in the live stream chat. Hopefully there are still some available for you, because that's been about 7 hours ago when we made that announcement. But I think that by tomorrow morning there are probably not going to be any tickets left, where we are already under 100 left to sell. Still VIP tickets remaining, still some general admission tickets remaining, though the GA tickets are going to go fast, because those are the $25 ones that just get you in the door. Anyway, we've rambled on too much. We've plugged all of the things. Let's go ahead and get the primetime program started. Welcome into A to Z Sports Primetime from the Zen Sports Studios. If you're new to the program, welcome. We're so happy to have you here. I'm your host, Buck Rising, and I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the great people at Two Rivers Ford. Quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service is what they offer. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet, or online at tworiversford.com. TrueMav Fitness, a new way to work out for the best version of you. Go to truemavfitness.com for your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident. And Zen Sports. Zen Sports, where betting just got better. $1,000, up to $1,000 on your no danger first wager, and same game parlays available for you for the NBA play-in games, for the Stanley Cup playoffs that are about to begin. All your favorite major sports available to wager on in the Zen Sports app. Promo code ATOZTN is how you get involved. Ben says he just bought his 2 tickets. So good to know that there are still some tickets remaining. I won't know exactly how many tickets we have left until tomorrow morning. I get an email every morning at 9 a.m. telling me how many tickets I have left. So good to know that there are still some remaining. So get in there like Ben and snatch up your tickets now so you can be in the house on Friday, May the 3rd. Now, in the meantime, Titans roster has some work to do, which is what this draft process is going to be about, which is what makes this draft process so exciting. And I'm looking at this tweet from Daniel Jeremiah a couple of months ago. This was back in mid-February after the Super Bowl had concluded. Daniel Jeremiah, who's, of course, the lead NFL draft analyst for the NFL Network, put out there, we are doing a fun series on the Move the Sticks podcast, looking at championship foundation for every team based on this formula. 1 quarterback, 3 offensive playmakers, so that can be 2 wide receivers and a running back, and it can be a wide receiver, a running back, and a tight end. It can be however you want to qualify your 3 best offensive playmakers, 3 quality offensive linemen, 2 pass rushers, and 3 defensive playmakers. The categories are blue chip, green, which is good, yellow, which is age, injury, contract concerns, pink, which is unproven, / young. So he, for example, used the Dolphins, where Tua, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane, and Raheem Mostert, Austin Jackson, and Teron Armstead were considered quality players, good players, where Tyreek Hill, Javon Holland, and Jalen Ramsey were the Dolphins' blue chip players, and that they didn't have a 3rd quality offensive lineman and had shaky defensive playmakers in Xavier Howard, Jerome Baker, and David Long Jr. because of their injury history. So if we did this exercise with the Titans, if we took the quarterback, the 3 offensive playmakers, could we find 3 quality offensive linemen on this roster right now? I think that's a fun way to look at it. And of course, that is the place that we will start with your 2 Rivers Ford take. Just simply, how close are the Titans to being considered contenders? Now, what does a contender mean? I believe, for example, that if you make the playoffs, you are a Super Bowl contender. Now, Lucas, who, if you listen to the radio show, you've heard me and Lucas have this argument before. Lucas contends that, for example, the Pittsburgh Steelers made the playoffs last year, but you shouldn't have considered them a contender because of their level of quarterback play was insufficient, because their offense was, borderline less than professional last year, and that they really never had a true chance to win the Super Bowl. My argument is more literal. I think if you get in the playoffs, it does make you a Super Bowl contender, because you are technically contending for the opportunity to win a Super Bowl, to play for a Super Bowl. But I understand why there was some pushback on that idea, because there aren't 7 teams in every conference that could be considered truly Super Bowl contenders. But if we're talking about playoff contenders, right, we'll just leave it at playoff contenders. Are they a contender to make the postseason in 2024? Let's take a look at it and work our way through it. How close are the Titans, in your estimation, to being considered contenders? It's your 2 Rivers Ford take. It's on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch for you to weigh in on. As always, it's presented by 2 Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealership. No matter how you like to shop, 2 Rivers Ford always puts you in the driver's seat. Quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service. They go above and beyond to make sure that you enjoy the car buying process. They go above and beyond to make sure that it's fast, easy, and fun for you. It was fast, easy, and fun for me when I purchased my vehicle 2 years ago. I am in love with my 2022 Ford Explorer that I got custom ordered at 2 Rivers Ford. You don't have to custom order your vehicle the way that I did, though it is an option for you. You can always go test drive one of their vehicles on the lot. Hell, you can even schedule a test drive for them to bring a vehicle to your house, and they will let you test drive it yourself at 2 Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet, or online at 2riversford.com. So, how close are the Titans to being considered contenders? And, we'll make it contenders by your definition. My definition is contending for a playoff berth right now. Ken Caniff says 2 more off seasons. Listen, if it takes 2 more off seasons to get this shit off the ground, then the coaching staff needs, that's a fireable offense to me. In today's NFL, you get 3 years at most to turn this around. If Brian Callahan and Ray Carthon together, we won't make it exclusively about Brian Callahan because it's also personnel decisions, right? If it takes 2 more off seasons to get the shit off the ground, then both of those men should be on the hot seat, and we should be talking about potential replacements, because if it's taken them that long, then something has gone terribly wrong. Will Levis will be in the final year of his deal in 2 more off seasons. That's not a situation that's tenable. You have to figure out how to do it within the window of his rookie contract before you have to, because he's going to get paid sooner than CJ Stroud, sooner than the other first-round quarterbacks that went before him. Will Levis does not have a 5th-year option at your disposal. If it takes 2 more off seasons to get this off the ground, this shit has gone poorly. Shit has not gone to plan, is how we should say it. I don't think that kind of a runway, nobody gets that kind of a runway in today's NFL. Absolutely not. Heath says on paper, they're a 7 to 9 win team this coming season. So close, but not contenders. MB says they are contenders right now. Schedules, free agency, etc., has shown there are new teams every year. The Texans are absolutely a great example of that. The Texans went from worst in 2022 to first in 2023. The NFL has examples of this every year. The 4th place schedule that the Titans will play is favorable. It's going to be a lot harder on Houston in year 2, certainly. The Jags and the Colts don't look as threatening, as far ahead as the Titans as they were, 6 months ago, or a couple of months, less than 6 months ago when the season ended. But still, the Titans do have some ground to make up with those other 3 franchises, though I do accept the argument of the worst to first flip because of the money that they've spent, because of the talent that they've added, and because of the schedule, the lighter schedule that they will play. You all were the same one, says Troy. I was telling you guys how bad Byard was. Are you talking to me or arguing with somebody else, Troy? I'm not quite certain whether that comment is directed specifically to me. I was telling you how bad Byard was falling off. Simmons is the same way. Fans only in Tennessee know Simmons. I'm confused. What are you arguing? Are you saying that Jeff Simmons is not a good player, or that Jeff Simmons is having some kind of a fall off? I don't understand the argument. I'm not sure if it's directed at me or not. Perhaps Troy is arguing with somebody else in the comment section. But are you comparing Kevin Byard's situation to Jeff Simmons? Because I don't think those are. Byard is considerably older than Jeff, and I know Jeff plays defensive tackle. But fans only in Tennessee know Simmons. It's not because of Jeff Simmons. If you put Jeff Simmons on the Jets, he would be as heralded as Quentin Williams. This is the Jarrell Casey complex. Jarrell Casey was a great player here for a long, long time. Delaney Walker, great player here for a long, long time. Also, they played it for a small market team that nobody gives a shit about. And so, people elsewhere don't really know about how good they actually are. But I think plenty of people know how good Jeff Simmons is. Let's not get bogged down with that, because I think that's a bit of a rabbit hole argument. I'm confused. Either way, how close are the Titans to championship contention? It seems like the moves that they've made have put them in a better position, but we'll work through the move the sticks foundational chart here in just a second. First, here is defensive coordinator Denard Wilson when asked about the pieces that his team, or that his unit, has added in free agency.
Moved to get L'Jarius. What were your initial reaction, and putting him together now with Cheeto? What's that do for this secondary?
See the smile on my face? No, I put a big smile on my face. Obviously, during that transition period, doing free agency, when you get a good player like him, you're always going to be happy. He's a guy that's been consistent throughout his career with the opportunities that he's presented. He's had success. And when you are consistent, you have success, you bring extreme value to a football team. Cheeto as well. The way Cheeto plays the game of football, how tough he is, the athleticism, his ability to do multiple things. It allows you as a defense to line up and cover guys, because this is a passing league these days. And the wide receiver talent is getting vastly good, at a great speed. So for us to go up there and have guys that could compete, that aren't scared of the competition, that's going to line up and challenge guys as a defense, it makes you a better defense.
So that is Denard Wilson talking about the pieces that they've added. And the question is, how close are the Titans to being contenders, how much work do they have yet to do to get there? So if we're using the same move the sticks championship foundation formula, where we take one quarterback, three offensive playmakers, three quality offensive linemen, two pass rushers, and three defensive playmakers, and try to determine where this team is, well, let's just start with the offensive side of the ball first. So if the scale is blue, green, yellow, pink, blue chip, good, injury / contract / age concerns for yellow, and pink meaning unproven, how would we grade this thing out? That's the way that I've gone about this exercise. So Will Levis is the Titans starting quarterback. Is he a blue chip player? Is he a good player? Is he a player that you have concerns about his injury, his age, his contract situation, or is he an unproven player? For me, Will Levis is pink in that category. He is unproven, with unproven or just young. Like there is a sample size. There's a representative sample size of Will Levis, but I don't think that he's earned the right to be outright the Titans starting quarterback of the future. I think that this is very much his job interview this season, and how much he does this season will determine whether Brian Callahan is successful, will determine whether he's successful. He's been given a lot of things around him so far, and they'll hopefully continue to add things around him that will help him be successful. But at this point, Will Levis is an unproven player. So in the category of quarterback, which is a very important category, we will go with pink in the unproven division. Now to the three offensive playmakers. So who are the three best offensive playmakers on the Titans right now? You could say Hopkins for sure, Ridley for sure. They ask for three offensive playmakers, and we're really not sure who's going to see the bulk of the snaps. Spears and Pollard together are going to be an interesting combination. We'll just say Spears for the purposes of this argument. I don't know that he'll get more snaps than Tony Pollard. I don't know that Tony Pollard will get more snaps than him, but we'll just use Spears for this argument. So Hopkins and Ridley, are they blue, green, yellow, or pink? Blue chip, good, age, injury, contract concerns, or pink? You know, Hopkins is a borderline yellow to me. And it's his age his performance last year gives me no concerns. Okay. I think that DeAndre Hopkins could potentially be a better player with more help around him in 2024. I think that the most impressive thing about what Hop did last year was to lift that offense up the way that he was able to do it and to play in all 17 games, to his credit. Ridley is a tough evaluation too, because he was a good player last year, but is that one season back from football heading into age 29, almost 30, is that enough for me to move from, for example, pink as unproven to green for Ridley? I'm going to make Hopkins yellow. I do that with hesitation because I believe him to be good enough to be a green player, but I think that there is enough concern for me, not that his contract's a problem, but that he's in the final year of his deal, that he will be 32 by the end of this season. I don't want to discredit or discount anything that he did, because he's a really, really reliable resource for that quarterback. And again, the reliability, the availability last year should absolutely buy him some credence there. But I think that anytime you have a wide receiver over the age of 30, that it has to be somewhat of a concern. So I'm going to put Hopkins down as a yellow in this particular category, which is a mark for age / injury / contract concerns. Hop doesn't have injury concerns. Age is always going to be a factor anytime you're over 30 playing the wide receiver position. And my contract concern is that his contract is up after this year, but I guess it doesn't matter for the championship foundation in 2024 because that's what we're talking about. But I still think yellow is the appropriate category for Hopkins right now. Aubrey Calvin is arguing for blue, as is Jeff Sawyer and Zeph Smith. Listen, you can make your own determinations here. I'm giving you my explanation for why I would put him in that particular category. I could just as easily make the argument for green. I don't think that Hopkins is one of the 10 best wide receivers in football anymore, though I think he's right on the verge still. And I think that you have to be top 5, top 10 at bare minimum to be considered a blue chip player at the wide receiver spot. Though, again, to his credit, he made all the plays that he could possibly make for this football team last year, and he shouldn't be marked off for that. So we'll say Hopkins yellow. I'm going to put Ridley pink. I'm going to put him as unproven for now too. Now, that's a more difficult argument to make because Calvin Ridley, prior to the suspension, was an established green player, right? Was an established good to above average wide receiver in the NFL. He misses the 2 years essentially. He comes back last year. It's rocky, but he still finds ways to produce for an underperforming Jags offense. The offense did underperform, though, and Calvin Ridley was a part of that, even though he did well to try and solidify things down the stretch to his credit, and that Trevor Lawrence was dealing with injuries last year. For the Titans, though, as a commodity, I think that he is still an unproven commodity, even though they have invested in him like he's a much, much more solid thing. Doesn't mean that he won't be. He can make me eat this evaluation right now. But prior to the season beginning, having just last year to operate off of, I would like to see a larger sample size. For Calvin Ridley, I think that the two of them are going to end up producing at a high level together between Hopkins and Ridley. But I still think that there's a lot more to I still think that there's a lot more to be desired there as far as the consistency goes, even though this player has been paid as one of the best at the position, as one of the highest paid at the position. I think he can absolutely achieve that. But heading into the offseason or heading into the season, prior to the draft, prior to having seen them play a game, I'm just going to go with pink for right now because I would like to see more. Spears is also going to be pink for me because we don't know what he's going to be like as a featured player. We know that he has potential. We know that he has great playmaking skills. We know we are optimistic about where he is trending, but I am going to put him in the same category as Levis. Brandon Connor says Ridley should be a green player. And listen, I'm 100% down to hear the argument. I think I could go either way on pink or green. I could go just as I could go either way on yellow or green for Hopkins, but I shouldn't say that I'm going to defer more pessimistically, but there's just a lot of moving pieces here that I want to see play out. Brandon Connor says Ridley should be a green player. Dude missed 2 years of football and still was a 1K wide receiver, 100% so. He's going to be even better with a year under his belt, potentially, Brandon, but he doesn't have that year under his belt yet, or he doesn't have that season. He doesn't have proof of concept here yet. Jacksonville, why Jacksonville didn't bring him back is curious to me because I don't know what their strategy really is other than this is a deep wide receiver class. But there was enough there for Jacksonville to consider it okay to move on from Calvin Ridley, even if their fan base didn't. I'm not saying that they're right, wrong, or indifferent about that. I'm just saying that they looked around, looked at the wide receiver market, said it's probably easier for us to get a cheaper player who's not going to be 29 years old at the start of the contract and is going to be something that we can more easily replace with the resources that we have at our disposal, and that it made a lot of sense for the Titans to do that deal as opposed to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I would like to see him do it here. We can have this conversation next year. He may well be a blue chip player by the end of this thing. Brian Spivey said, I thought they were working on a deal. They were working on a deal, and ultimately they did not bring him back, and the Titans were able to sweep in and make that happen. The deal was not sufficient for what Calvin Ridley offered or wanted based on his own commentary about the situation. And he spoke to that in his press conference earlier. What was that? Last month when we spoke to Calvin Ridley.
Good player. I'm the type of player, who deserves this contract. I'm gonna say that. I'm the type of player who, you want in the building. Someone who's gonna work for your organization. Someone who all their life as a kid, I rode city buses to high school just to go to school, 2 of them in the morning. And then I would ride 2 of them after school just to go back to my mom's house. And then I would get on another 2 buses to go to another high school to watch them, just to watch them, because I'm already, this is where I'm going to play at next season. I'm done with it. This is where I'm going to play at. Then I'm riding 2 more buses, city buses, back home. I get home about 11 o'clock, and I got to get on another 2 city buses in the morning. And I'm only doing this for football reasons. So that's what type of player, y'all got a player who gonna come and work for that, for whatever y'all gave me, and y'all got a player.
I have a lot of respect for Calvin Ridley, and I think he could absolutely make me eat this pre-draft evaluation, or it is a pre-draft evaluation of the roster. But I think he could very easily end up being a green player for this roster. Right now, though, I'd like to see him prove it. I'd like to see him do it with this new offense. And I don't know how long that's going to take. It may happen right out of the gate. It may take a couple of weeks. It's completely understandable if it takes a couple of weeks. There's a lot of new moving pieces and parts, and it probably is not going to be seamless, but that's okay. A to Z Sports Primetime is made possible by the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. Go to GaryAshton.com and get your dream address without the stress. The intel edge you need to succeed can be found at GaryAshton.com, the official real estate agent of the playoff-bound Nashville Predators. Congratulations to the Preds for making it back to the postseason. All right, so as we continue our evaluation right now, let's continue on. So far, we have, at least I have, and you may be doing your evaluations differently. I have Levis, pink, Hopkins, yellow, Ridley, pink, Spears, pink, for a championship foundation for the Tennessee Titans. Now, the rest of the formula. Do they have 3 quality offensive linemen to put into this championship foundation? I would argue that they only have 2 quality offensive linemen that you could make the case for in Lloyd Cushenberry, who I would consider a green chip player, absolutely. The new starting center for the Tennessee Titans. He was the best available center on the free agent market. He is being compensated as such. He will solidify a lot of things for that offense up front, as well as for his rookie or his second-year quarterback. I like Lloyd Cushenberry. He is the first green player on my list. Skoronski is pink to me. He is a first-round guard. He is somebody who looked like a rookie offensive lineman on a shitty offensive line. I'm not going to completely denigrate his effort to say that he's anything less than just yet, because I know he had the appendectomy. I know how difficult that is to have that in season, to try and maintain your strength and conditioning, to try and continue your level of play. My expectation for Peter Skoronski is that he will improve beside Lloyd Cushenberry, and hopefully with a better left tackle situation, which we have yet to determine. But I will say Skoronski is pink as far as unproven, because I feel the same about him as I do about Will Levis. There is a representative sample size. It's tough for me to say that Peter Skoronski was an outright good player last year when he was a part of the worst offensive line group, though, again, he can prove me wrong. Derek says, how the hell is Cushenberry not a blue chip player? You know, the argument could be made for smarter football people than me. So how many blue chip centers can you name off the top of your head? Because Cushenberry may well fall in that category. I'm going to put him in the green category for the time being. His pass blocking numbers, according to Pro Football Focus, would probably qualify him as a blue chip player. I think that there are a couple of different things that I would have questions about as far as the fit, how long it takes for him to get Will Levis up to speed, how long it takes the two of them to get up to speed together. I'm willing to hear the argument for Lloyd Cushenberry as a blue chip player. Again, I think there was no disputing that he was the best center on the free agent market this year. How many blue chip centers are there right now in the NFL? It's an interesting question. Derek, you might move me off my position of green, but I'm going to stay cautiously optimistic right now, and we'll stay with green. I would argue that there's only one blue chip player on the Titans roster right now, not named the punter, and I would say that that's Jeff Simmons. Now I'm going to be a tougher grade than a lot of people. I think I think that I'm probably going to be a lot harsher with my grading curve than some might. I think Brandon Connor says, keep in mind we're getting color grades from Buck, who just started watching football. Well, the color grades are from Daniel Jeremiah. So I'm looking at the formula right here. And it's completely fair to value Daniel Jeremiah's opinion over mine as far as this evaluation process goes. I'm not willing to give benefit of the doubt to anybody not named Jeff Simmons on this roster right now. I'm just not. And I don't think that I'm wrong in that. I think that might be, like I said, a little harsher than some of you, and that you're, again, entirely entitled to your opinion. I'm going to stay with green for now, but I'm willing to hear the argument for blue. It's not unacceptable. There is no third quality offensive lineman on the Titans roster to me. I don't think you can make the argument for NPF, for Brunskill. We don't know what the left tackle situation is just yet. Certainly it's not Jalen Duncan. The new guy that they just traded for from the Browns is not somebody who I would consider a blue or a pink or a green. I just don't think that there is a third quality offensive lineman for the Titans right now, so we'll give them an incomplete on the third offensive lineman. Now to the pass rushers. So Harold Landry, green player, absolutely. Harold, and potential blue. I think that Harold Landry's play in the second half of the season might damn qualify him for blue, but I'd like to see him do it for an entire season. Harold will be a green player for me for now. Arden Key, I'm not sold on Arden. I really enjoy Arden as a quote. I think that there's a level of consistency that has been lacking there. So if you're asking me on the two pass rushers that they have on the roster right now, where Arden Key would fall, I don't have age or injury or contract concerns with him, so I can't necessarily make him a yellow. I'm probably going to keep Arden as a pink for the time being. Perhaps he's got something to prove. Perhaps this is the best version of Arden Key that we're going to see, but I'm not quite there yet. Defensive playmakers. Now, we need 3 defensive playmakers, so let's go Sneed, blue. Let's go Jeff, blue. And let's go Amani Hooker, green. I think that is a fair estimation of where the Titans defense is right now. Green for Amani Hooker. Once he got his health situation rectified from 2022, I think he continues to be a high-level player. He's a versatile player. There's no disputing that L'Jarius Sneed, coming off of the second consecutive Super Bowl win for the Kansas City Chiefs, was playing at elite level, an absolute all-pro snub last year. Jeff Simmons is a blue chip player. Absolutely. He is no lower than I don't think there's 4 defensive linemen better than Jeff. Chris Jones is definitely better than Jeff. Quinnen Williams, you could probably say push. But if you go Chris Jones, some combination, now that Aaron Donald's out of football, you go some combination of Quinnen Williams, Jeff Simmons, with Chris Jones at the top of that list. I think that's a fair estimation. I would consider Jeff Simmons a blue chip player. I think that Harold Landry could be borderline blue, though I would like to see him do it for a full season. So that's the estimation that I've got right now, where I have, all right, let's tally these things up. Again, your grades may be different than mine. Why don't we tally these things up here in just a second, right after I remind you that the Primetime program is presented by the great folks at True Math Fitness in the Gulch. Go to TrueMathFitness.com for your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident. They are there to help you. No workout is ever recycled or repeated. True Math Fitness goes above and beyond to help you satisfy your fitness goals. TrueMathFitness.com for your first workout free. Bert, I think we're going to punt on the season win totals tonight. I think that's honestly a whole nother show, given that we're already 40 minutes in and we're still working our way through this exercise. So we'll do the season win totals tomorrow for those of you who are interested. All right, so with the formula that we have determined that the NFL research put out, okay, Championship Foundation, with the formula of 1 quarterback, 3 offensive playmakers, 3 quality offensive linemen, 2 pass rushers, and 3 defensive playmakers. With those 5 categories, how did we come away? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pink, which are unproven players. I have 1 yellow player in DeAndre Hopkins, who I very easily could make the argument for green, but I do think that anytime you're a wide receiver over 30, it is fair to have age, injury, /contract concerns, and that is the yellow classification. Green, I have 1, 2, 3 in Lloyd Cushenberry, Harold Landry, and Amani Hooker. I think that those are all 3 fair green estimations. Those are good quality players. Again, I would hear the argument for Lloyd Cushenberry as a blue chip player. Center is not a premium position, which is crazy to me that center's not a premium position, but that is the way that the league looks at it. And I have 2 blue chip players on the Titans roster right now in L'Jarius Sneed and Jeff Simmons. So 5 pink, 1 yellow, 3 green, 2 blue. How far away are the Titans from a championship foundation there? So just looking at what Daniel Jeremiah did for the Dolphins as an example, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 green players. He has 3 blue chip players. He has 3 yellow players. And without a third quality offensive lineman, that's obviously a red. That's a qualification that we did leave for the Titans as well. So we will put 1 red qualification for the Titans not having 3 quality offensive linemen on the roster yet, though we could see them add one in the upcoming NFL draft. Does that formula equate to you to be playoff contenders? I erred on the cautious side. I could have gone higher with my grades in at least 3 different spots. I could have gone higher with Hopkins, with Ridley, and with Cushenberry in particular. I think everybody else, I feel pretty good about my estimations. You could have gone back and forth on Spears versus Pollard if you wanted to put Pollard in there. I had Spears. Spears, I made a pink player. Pollard, you could probably argue for a green player. But Spears is the running back that I used for this particular exercise. So that's where we're at with this. That's where I'm at with this. Like I said, your evaluation of their roster may be better, but there is a lot to be desired there. There's still a lot of holes on defense. There's still a lot of holes on the offensive line that could help buoy this thing. And while Hopkins probably doesn't deserve that yellow classification based on his performance last year, it's really hard for me to buy into the 30-plus-year-old wide receiver continuing to maintain. If anybody can do it, I believe DeAndre Hopkins is absolutely capable. I'm going to be more skeptical, though, which I look forward to see. Hopkins seems to thrive off that. I'm sure it wouldn't bother him in the slightest. He is a player that stays highly motivated, and that's certainly good news for Titans fans. So I'm a little more pessimistic on the roster to date than many of you might be. Doesn't mean I'm completely out on it. I like a lot of the things that they've done. I think they've checked a lot of the right boxes to get this thing to a way more competitive level than it has been in the past 2 seasons. And it's certainly not a bad problem to have with Hopkins, with Ridley, with the kind of players that they have currently on rookie deals as well. So I would give them a shot at the wild card pre-draft with this kind of talent. I'd give them a shot at the wild card. The Dolphins, as an example, they're competing for their division. They're competing for Super Bowls. The Titans aren't quite there yet. The Titans are most competing with the Texans. They're most competing with the Jags. They're most competing with the Colts. Whereas the Texans in that same division are competing at a different level, right? They're with the Chiefs. They're with the Ravens. They're with the Bengals. They're with the teams that are trying to win the ultimate goal in the AFC. The Titans are not quite there yet, though they could surprise just as the Texans did last year. I think a wild card with that level of talent, I think a wild card is entirely possible, though the pieces will have to, fall into line effectively, and we'll see just how that goes over the course of the next couple of months. Okay. I like that evaluation. That's a fun exercise. Hopefully you guys, I don't know if you guys made notes the same way that I did, but I'm probably going to put this into an article later for A2ZSports.com, so you can check that out later on. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's do a little rising and falling. Whose stock rose in sports this week? Whose stock fell? We'll talk about it together on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. Right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by Zen Sports. Download the app, plug in the promo code ATOZTN, get up to $1,000 on your no danger first wager. You can bet the NBA, the NHL, the MLB, football right around the corner. You've got the UFL going right now. Zen Sports has great odds boosts and promotions for you there with that promo code ATOZTN. Terms and conditions do apply. Gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. Must be in Tennessee and 21 plus to bet at Zen Sports. Okay, whose stock rose? Whose stock fell this week in sports? You could go a couple of different ways with Bill Belichick, for example. Bill Belichick could be both rising and falling this week. I don't know how many of you read the ESPN.com article detailing how it was that Bill Belichick basically got voted off the NFL island by Bob Kraft and his pursuit of the Atlanta Falcons job that ultimately Raheem Morris ended up getting. Now, Bill Belichick, on the day that report is released, appeared on the Pat McAfee show. The report painted Belichick's stock down. McAfee is going to have Belichick as a part of his draft coverage, which is stock up. Bill immediately, with the biggest flex I've ever seen of anybody who's doing television right now, with a kind of background, the way that Bill Belichick, the way that you see my backdrop here is the lovely Zen Sports backdrop that the A to Z people have put together for me. Bill Belichick's, not that there's anything wrong with Zen Sports, Bill Belichick's backdrop's slightly more impressive than mine.
We will be having our 5th annual Draft Spectacular. And this time, we're actually live at the draft.
Whoa! Yeah.
Holy shit!
Love that.
Remember last year we were here in the Thunderdome. Red Panda came out. She had 10 bowls on her foot. She kicked it up on top of her head. We gave away a bunch of money. We got a chance to experience the highs and lows of the drafts and the things that are, whoa, I can't believe that team did that, and congrats to this guy, and all of that. We've done that for the last 5 years. We've gotten to do it. This year, we're live in Detroit.
Let's go.
That's big news.
Huge.
People would say, wow, that's huge. That's big.
Massive.
Upgrade. Yeah. That's a big upgrade. Wow. That's such a huge deal. Well, let me tell you what's an even bigger deal. The person that's going to be co-hosting the Draft Spectacular with us, that starts at 8 o'clock, in the countdown to the Draft Spectacular that starts at 7:30, is the greatest head coach of all time, the greatest general manager of all time, 8-time Super Bowl champion, ladies and gentlemen, this man, Bill Belichick.
Yeah!
All right, Pat.
Coach, hey, you got some stuff behind you, Coach. There's some things behind you there. I don't know if you knew that.
That's my bling.
Okay.
That's on my fingers. That's my bling.
Bill Belichick and his bling is awesome. Bill should have shown breaking down offenses. That's the fastest way to get back into the league, says MB. He's going to be a part of Pat McAfee's draft coverage, which is absolutely wild. The article on ESPN.com by Seth Wickersham, by Jeremy Fowler, and by Don Van Natta Jr. It's really informative. It takes you inside the process that saw Belichick end up on the outside of the NFL coaching cycle this year, which is pretty crazy. But I would say that both his stock rose and his stock fell all in the same swing this week. Bill Belichick is still the greatest head coach in the history of football, but football is changing pretty substantially, and I know that is something that football fans are going to have to get used to. A world without Bill Belichick is going to be crazy. Ken Caniff says Red Lobster stock down. Yes, ever since Bert made me eat at a Red Lobster, they have since filed for bankruptcy. I feel vindicated. It's not like I'm rooting against Red Lobster. I do like the Cheddar Bay biscuits, I suppose, as much as anybody else does. But yes, as soon as Bert took me to a Red Lobster, they declared bankruptcy, and I was vindicated in my position on Red Lobster. So I apologize to anybody that works at Red Lobster or is invested in Red Lobster, but yeah, that's probably not a good stock to have. Karen O'Keefe says, Buck stock up for getting special guest Rand Carthon to come to the live show on May the 3rd. Yes, we're very much looking forward to having Rand be a part of the live draft breakdown that we will do 6 days after the draft. Like I said, you can get your tickets at 1045thezone.com, or you can scroll back up through the live chat where Bert has dropped the Eventbrite link. I was texting Rand earlier today. If we were on the radio show, I would get hit with the fine sound for flexing on who I've been texting recently. But I did text Rand about being excited to have him be a part of the post-draft coverage, and he expressed his excitement for that as well. So we're looking forward to having him, to having Greg Cosell be a part of that as always, and certainly to having you guys be a part of that, which is going to be a great time. Brian Spivey says, dang, you gotta like that, Buck. I love it. I think it's going to be a great addition. Anytime you can have the general manager who is responsible for picking the draft class then join you on stage in front of hundreds of Titans fans to break down that draft class, I think it's an excellent value for Titans fans. There's nowhere I can honestly say, guys, and I don't say this because I'll be honest, the podcast with Greg was not my idea. It was something that the station came to me with. Greg had been doing work with the Midday 180 previously, the show that I replaced on 104.5 The Zone. Greg had approached the station about doing the podcast for The Zone with me, which I was flattered by. And I really appreciate Greg and his friendship and his trust that I wouldn't screw that up. And so 3 years later and one live show in, we're excited to put that on for you. It's been really cool to see that audience grow. You guys seem to really enjoy that as a resource. And to know how respected Greg is among NFL people is the reason why Rand Carthon agreed to show. It's got nothing to do with me. It's for you guys who think I talk too much. It's going to be a perfect show for you because my objective for that live show on Friday, May the 3rd is just going to be to shut my mouth as much as humanly possible and get out of the way of those two gentlemen as they break down your new Titans draft class for you on Friday, May the 3rd. So that will be a great time. Tig says, still would like to hear from Callahan Sr. before the draft. Probably not going to happen. The assistant coaches, the league doesn't require the assistant coaches to be made available. The team is not going to do it. I mean, it's not like the team has outright said, no, we won't make them available, but the team doesn't have to make them available. So I doubt they would just yet. Michael Wagner says, sell tickets to stream it for us out-of-state fans. Buck, yeah, we need to look at some kind of component for next year probably for that because we're raising money for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society as a part of this live show. So I would like to get as much money for LLS out of this as humanly possible, but I don't know yet that the venue, it's not something that I had thought about. Honestly, this is something that I wanted to do here locally for Titans fans in the city of Nashville. That makes it a unique event. I don't want to, obviously ask people to come in from out of state or something like that just to buy tickets to this thing. But I want Titans fans to have access to the resources of this. But I'm not sure that we have the infrastructure in place to live stream that from the analog. So perhaps that's something that we can explore next year. Brian says, I'm 6 hours away. I wish you would. Yeah, but I'm going to sound like a jerk when I say this. Not everything has to be for everybody. Some things we got to do for the audience that's here in Nashville. That is, our P1 listeners to the radio show. There have to be some special events. And I like to make, I don't want to exclude anybody from having access to this thing. And certainly we're going to put it up on YouTube in parts after the fact. But, if there was a way to raise more money for LLS, I would probably explore that. But I think for right now, this is okay. It's okay. I'm in Vegas. Just send the ticket, says Fade. Jacob Ray says, damn, Buck saying don't come. No, I'm not saying that at all. I like the idea of doing something unique for the audience that's here. I think the primetime show is for a unique audience. The install show is for a unique audience. The radio show is for a unique audience. And so to be able to do that for the core listeners of the install podcast, I like that conceptually, though I want to make sure that as many people are included as humanly possible. Anyway, get your tickets at 1045thezone.com because I bet that they're going to Bert says, tell them to hit my Venmo and I'll FaceTime them in. Bert's not even going to be it. Actually, Bert came to the live show last year and then we all went out afterwards, which was a hell of a time. I'm still recovering from the Tin Roof after party. That is custom with it. That's the other thing. The after party is as much fun as the damn show. Like the live show, the podcast comes with a full bar, guys. I don't know how many of you realize that. I was not drinking during the show last year. Maybe I'll consider it this year. I don't know. But we went out to Tin Roof on the Mumbrian last year and lit it the hell up with all kinds of audience members, with all of us. I know that Blaine Bishop is going to be in the house. Ron Slade, Don Davenport, Brent Doherty, all of my friends from the zone. I know A to Z is going to have a large contingent in the house. So it's as much for the Tin Roof after party as it is for the live show itself. It's a great time. Michael Wagner says, deal. $10 in Bert's favorite White Claw. Well, Bert's a tequila drinker, much like myself, which is one of the few things that I actually respect about Robert Walsh. Anyway, it's going to do it for us tonight. We will end the show with the with the way that I think we are going to end every show at this point, which is to tell you that you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Go home! Go home! Go home! You're embarrassing Nashville! Go home!